You're joining me today for quarterfinal 2 of my 2025 bracket to work out which is the best player's distance iron in 2025 for average golfers just like myself. And today's battle is a battle of the 200s, the Callaway Ai200 versus the Titleist T200. Now let's tell you the point scoring system and start hitting some shots and collecting those data sets. Right, before I start hitting shots, I just want to tell you the point scoring criteria for the bracket in 2025. Now, although this is a little bit of fun, I want to try and make it as helpful and as objective as possible. So we're going to allocate a maximum of 10 points to each iron. The iron with the highest score will go through to the semi-final. Now, to make it as objective as possible, we're going to capture a batch of shots using TrackMan with both of these irons in a second, and we're going to allocate 7 points out of that 10 based on the performance of these two irons. We'll then allocate an additional objective point based on the current price point of the two irons, and then 2 subjective points based on the looks, the feels and the sounds. Now at the end of it, the iron that scores the highest will go through to the next round. Now you may have some slightly different preferences in terms of looks, feels, sounds, and even what you want your iron to do for you, and you might therefore come up with a different answer to me. That's absolutely okay. This is just a bit of fun to try and aid you with your buying decision, and for me to try and work out the answer to the question that I get asked in the comments all the time. Right, let's set up the test and let's start hitting some shots. It's a lovely strike. Comes out, felt like to me, again, I don't know if this is going to be the case for all of these shots, but quite flat as it's come out of the strike. 112 of ball speed, 162 of carry straight out of the gate from something that's a little bit low and heely, 172 total, spinning at 4,700, launch at 20 degrees, peak height 92 feet, land angle 47. Lovely strike, just down the middle. Be interesting to see again what the numbers are like on that one. Does again feel like it's coming out flatter than some other clubs that I've tested more recently on the channel. I've definitely got my ball speed and everything up a little bit more, but that's the impressive thing there, because it's got 112 of ball speed, it's carried 163 yards, it's still spun at 4.6, so a little bit lower spinning there. But the interesting thing there is, although it felt like it's coming out a little bit lower, it still reached 104 feet of peak height and still land angle at 49 degrees. Like, they're outrageously good numbers. I'd absolutely take those numbers, and it is long as well. That's just a golf shot. Just a tiny draw off of the target. That's going to be huge. I'm convinced it's huge. It is. Look at that. 114 of ball speed, carrying at 164, totaling at 172, spinning at 4825, launching at 22.5, 106.1 of peak height, land angle 49.8 degrees. That's great. Seriously impressing me second time round this golf club. That's gone miles, absolutely miles. 113 of ball speed, 165 of carry off a slightly thin strike, spinning at 4,500, launching at 22 degrees, 103 of peak height, 49 degrees of land angle. Seriously impressing me. In terms of feels, quite a pattern that I'm noticing in players' distance irons this year is they definitely don't feel as soft as they maybe used to in the last couple of years. Obviously the materials they're using, maybe with all these AI faces and how they're moving the weight around behind the face, but it certainly feels like it's a little bit more solid off the face. Reminds me very much of how I felt when I was hitting the Strixon ZXi range, which will come up in the bracket a little bit later. But yeah, maybe not as soft as something like the P790 or my own Mizuno and the new version of the Mizuno, but nothing that offends me. The sound is quite loud. Again, obviously the acoustics are always amplified here in the bay, but they sound a little bit loud as well. But yeah, I like it all. Just left the face wide open there. Pushed it down the left-hand side. But again, look at that, for a push down the left-hand side to still get ball speeds of 112, carrying at 159, totaling at 167, stopping quickly with 4.9 of spin, launch angle 24, peak height 107.7, land angle 50.1. Outrageous. Just turned that one over. Felt good again. Centered but a little bit thin. Story of the day for me. 112 of ball speed, 164. It's an absolute rocket, this thing. It's going so far. Again, maybe must have been a little bit heavy because the spins dropped down to 4.2, but launch angles, peak heights and land angles are all still very impressive for that quality of strike. Right, one more to finish with this club. Might be a little bit heavy. We might hit one more. It is a little bit heavy, but 111.5, 164.7, totaling 176.5. Spins dropped down because of that heavy strike, which is exactly what you expect it to do, but that's forgiveness for you, right? It's still got out there a long, long way, just come out a little bit lower at 20.8 of launch, 91 feet of peak height, 45 degrees of land angle. Right, let's switch over to that Titleist T200 and see how it compares. Oh my God, that's gone so high. It's just a shame that it started on the target and just drawn off of it, but it's gone so high into the air. 112 of ball speed, 159 off of a slightly thin strike that's rolled out to only 166.8. Spin at 4936, but you can just see how high that is compared to what we were doing with the Ai200, because the launch is above 23, we've got 107 feet of peak height and landing at 51 degrees. So high again. Definitely it's got a louder sound to this, hitting it straight after the Ai200. Definitely feels a little bit louder off of the face. 113 of ball speed, 158 of carry, still a little bit low in terms of that strike location, but you can see how quickly it stopped at 164.6, spinning at 5467. That's a spin rate we didn't see out of the Ai200. It's launched again at 22.5, gone 106 feet of peak height and landed above 50 degrees. There are a couple of really good shots that we've seen from this so far. Caught that one a little bit heavy. It'll be interesting to see what happens to it in terms of numbers. Club head speed's still good, but expecting everything else to just drop off a little bit. It hasn't, because I've actually got it a little bit higher up the face there, the strike. 109 of ball speed, 157 of carry, rolling out to only 166, so 9.2 yards. Spin rate is a little bit low, and that's what's probably got out there, the distance. But if you look at that, I think that's the lowest one we've hit so far at 97 feet, which just shows you how high this golf club wants to go. Just a baby draw off of that target line. Another good strike, I think. Let's see what it says. Yeah, really good strike there. 110 of ball speed, 158 of carry, totaling 156, spinning at 4744. Launch, height, land angle, all really good again. Above that 23, above the 100 feet, and close to 50 degrees. It's going to stop quickly. Enjoying hitting the 200 because for me personally, and there'll be other people watching this video that need some of the performance characteristics of some of the other irons in this bracket, but I just love how easy it is to get this iron in the air. The interesting thing about this, again, whether or not you'd see this as a good thing, the shot shape with it is almost incredibly consistent, because I just seem to be hitting, which could obviously just be the shaft combination and my swing speed on the day and my delivery, but just seem to be getting this one all the time, is just starting on target and just sort of drawing off of it. That one there, 110 of ball speed, 154 of carry, spinning at 5586, which is a good spin rate considering it's obviously a low strike there, stopping incredibly quickly, 5586 of spin, launch, height, land angle, again, all where we want them to be. That's outrageous. It's so high again. So high. If it's long, it's very good. 110 of ball speed, 153 of carry, 158.9, spinning at 5356, launching at 24.7, peak height 110 feet, landing at 52.5. So actually here, you know, maybe not getting on all of these really good shots the exact same distances that we were getting out of the Ai200 at its best, but we're definitely getting a lot more control, and if that's what you're looking for, that's what this is offering, I think. Finally shut the face down on one, and it's come out a little bit lower as a result, and then we've got the carry distance just jumping back up again to 110 mile an hour of ball speed, 157.7 of carry, 166.5 of total, 4746 of spin. So that again, that spin's just dropped down a little bit, but we've still got that launch angle very high. We've still got peak heights of 100 feet, and we've still landed it at 49 degrees. That could be a really nice one to finish on. Yeah, it is. 110 of ball speed, 155 of carry, centered strike, still a little bit low, but centered strike, 162 total, spinning at 5.2, launch angle 23, peak height 104, land angle 50 degrees. So done hitting shots with both of these clubs. Now let's go home and let's dissect all that TrackMan data, and let's start allocating the points to these two clubs and work out which one's going through to the semi-final. Right, time to deep dive into the data from those two batches of shots. Now, starting on the left-hand side, the Callaway Ai200 was definitely a faster club in my hands on the day, delivering 1.6 mile an hour more ball speed off 0.4 mile an hour less club head speed, as demonstrated by the higher smash factor. So I think the points for this section have to go to the Callaway. Just to show you my strike location and bring that to life for you, you can see here it is very, very similar, quite centered, a little bit low on the face, and therefore both these data sets are also very, very comparable. Spin rates were, however, significantly better with the Titleist T200, which had circa 500 RPM more spin on average at 5079 versus 4589 with the Callaway Ai200. The Titleist is spinning in the same ballpark as some of the highest spinning players distance irons that I've tested, while the Callaway is closer to the bottom end of that. Therefore, I'm giving the points to the Titleist in this section. The Titleist T200 also delivered the better ball flight in my opinion, with 1.6 degrees more launch angle, 4.9 feet of additional peak height on average, and 2.2 degrees steeper land angle than the Callaway Ai200. The Callaway numbers, however, are still very good, and if this was a standalone review, I'd be raving about them. So whilst the Titleist does get the points in this section, the Callaway is still going to get awarded something because it has done very, very well. Just to show you the side-on view of those shot trajectories, you can see it bringing to life what I was talking about in the bay of that slightly lower launching Ai200 versus that slightly more higher launching, higher ball flight of the Titleist. So in terms of distance, the Callaway Ai200 was an absolute beast and much longer than I remember it being in my initial review, carrying 162.8 yards on average versus 156.5 from the Titleist, which again is still very good in my hands. I typically say that my 7-iron's a 154 yard club, so this has outperformed my average with my own iron. The Titleist T200 does gain some points back, however, for its stopping power, rolling out only 7.7 yards on average, which might be the best that I've seen from a data set this large in all of the testing I've done on my channel, versus the Callaway, which rolled out to 9.6 yards, so points for both in this section in my opinion. And the final thing to show you is my shot dispersion pattern, and I must admit when I saw how tight this dispersion pattern was from the Callaway Ai200, I was seriously impressed. Front to back, left to right from a golf club that's that long is seriously impressive. And what I must say though is the first shot with the Titleist T200 is that one out to the right hand side. If that wasn't included in the data set, we would have a really tight dispersion left to right, and these two data sets would be incredibly comparable. So don't let that one shot just sort of cloud your judgment too much, because ultimately that is all on me. So that leads me nicely into my scoring for this. And the final thing we need to overlay before we give the performance score is the forgiveness of these two irons. And the way that I'm scoring that is by looking through the TrackMan data to see how many shots it took me to get the 10 usable shots for this data set. And with the Titleist T200, it was 13 shots versus 15 with the Callaway Ai200. So in my opinion, I do think the Titleist T200 is a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more consistent, particularly in terms of its ball flight. I spoke about that in the bay, how it just wanted to deliver the same shape time after time in my hands, and that is something that's a massive advantage for me. But overall, I do think that does mean that these two irons are averaged out at 6 out of 7, which is a really strong number for me to give both these irons, but it backs up how seriously impressed I am with them both. If you want to maximize your distance, you're going to pick the Ai200. If you want to maximize your control, you're going to pick the Titleist T200. Now in terms of feels and sounds, I definitely prefer the feel and the sound of the Titleist T200. It's not as good in my opinion as the TaylorMade P790 or the brand new Mizuno JPX925 forge, but it's up there with the Wilson Dynapower forge in that sort of competing for third place of all the irons that I've tested recently. I am still giving some points to the Callaway because it isn't a bad feeling iron, but the reason it's not scored a full point is I do think the Callaway Elite, a similar iron from the same brand, actually feels a little bit better than it. I filmed the quarterfinal that one was in on the same day and preferred the feel of the Elite, so I can't award this one a full point when I preferred the feel of the other iron. In terms of looks, I do think both irons are really, really stunning. Lots of bag appeal, lots of shelf appeal. They both look great down at address, and therefore I couldn't split them, so I've given them both a point here. Again, you might have some slightly different preferences in terms of feels, looks and sounds, but that's just how I saw it. And finally, in terms of price point, both these irons have only got £40 between them at the time of filming this video in the UK for 5-iron to pitching wedge. So I've scored them both half a point. I can't split them over £40. There's not a big difference for me, and therefore I do think it is fair just to give them the same score. So what does that mean overall? Well, I've got the Titleist T200 winning it by half a point. And one of the reasons I think that happened is that when I was trying to take a look back and looking at all the data, I asked myself the question, which one of these would I go out and buy if I had to buy one of the two sets tomorrow? And it would be the Titleist T200. T200. For me personally, I prefer that little bit of extra control that it offers and the really good distance that it offers, and I do prefer the feel of it, and ultimately that's just what's got it over the line. But I totally understand how any golfer could watch this video, test both these clubs, and come up with a completely different answer, particularly if you are looking to maximize your distance as well, because these really are close, and whichever one went out, it would be an absolute shame because they are two of the best around. So congratulations to the Titleist T200 from sneaking through an epic quarter-final against the Callaway Ai200. You've set yourself up a semi-final against the Wilson Dynapower Forged. Now, if you've got some value out of this video and you'd like to return the favour, all you need to do is hit that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that golfers just like you may be interested in watching this video. Equally, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, hi, I'm Luke, the Weekend Tour Pro. If you press that button on screen right now, you'll subscribe to my channel and get notified of all my videos as they land, including the rest of those quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals as they land in the coming weeks. Equally, if you think you may be interested in watching another one of my videos, there's a couple of options personalized for you popping up on screen right now. If you press one of those, you'll be taken to it straight away. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.